This is what the carousel looks like, separated from the clock. This is the front clear casing. There's also clear casing on the left and the right side. All three of these clear casing segments are solid and in place. They do not come out. The rear casing, on the other hand, is flexible and removable. Notice how I bend it in slightly to remove it, and then I bend it in slightly to reinsert it. And the bending in slightly looks like this. This is the face mechanism front side. This is the face mechanism rear side with its cover on. There are two clamps holding the rear cover of the face mechanism in place, which you cannot see clearly, but they are on the right and left sides, and they are holding the cover of the rear face mechanism in place by squeezing it on the left and the right sides. In order to remove this cover of the rear face mechanism, you can do so by squeezing together on the left and the right sides and pulling until it comes all the way off. You squeeze together and you pull, and then it comes off. It can be put on by squeezing slightly again and pushing, and then it should go back on. And you'll know it's on securely is if it does not come off easy by moving it in any direction. So to remove, you squeeze and you pull, and it should come off. To put it back on, you squeeze again slightly and you push. If you have to push hard, then you're not doing it correctly. This here is the wheel which needs to be turned in order to adjust the hands on the front of the clock mechanism face. You turn this wheel by moving the left side of it in a downward motion. And as it turns, the hands on the front are moving accordingly. So what you'll need to do in order to set the time is you'll have to have at least one finger on the wheel turning it from the rear as you watch it visually with your eyes on the front. Note the direction that I'm turning this wheel in, the left side downward. The instructions forbid you from turning it in the opposite direction, because to turn it in the opposite direction would be reversing the natural direction of time and may cause damage to the clock. So make sure when you're adjusting the time that you always turn this in a downward direction as time advances forward, never in the opposite direction where it would be in the reverse direction. Directly below the rear mechanism itself is the slot for one of the two AA batteries. Once you have that battery in place, it powers the front panel display and moves the hand of the clock in a natural timely progression as time moves forward. The way you insert the AA batteries is as you're facing the rear of the clock mechanism and clock itself, is you have the head of the body to your right, the head of the battery to your right, and you have the rear of the battery to your left. And it's best to insert it rear first. You put it in place, and then using the instructions you reinsert the cover of the rear face mechanism. After you have the cover of the rear face mechanism in place and attached, you can attach the carousel. The carousel fits on top of this in the center of the inside floor of the clock. You take this and you set it on top of it. Now, its objective is to spin in opposite directions, but that will not happen until the battery is in place for it, because there is a separate AA battery for it. Just like you have one AA battery that controls the power to the front face, you have a separate AA battery which controls and powers the carousel. And the slot for it is on the bottom of the clock, right at the top here. So you take your other AA battery and you insert it into this battery slot. Once this AA battery is in place, then the carousel should operate as it's supposed to. If you notice, it's not moving now because it will not spin until the clock is situated in an upright position, and then it should spin back and forth, providing that the battery is fresh and operable. Notice that if the clock is tipped in any direction, either forward or sideways, you'll observe that the carousel stops spinning. And you may have to tap on the carousel in order to get it to start spinning again. The final battery slot I'll talk about is the one for the two size C batteries, and that can be found adjacent to the one for the carousel. You open that up and you insert your two size C batteries in place. And what these two size C batteries do is they control the sound and the chimes of the clock itself. So you have the two batteries here, which are size C for the chimer. You have the one AA on the bottom for the carousel, and you have the other AA for the clock face mechanism that powers the front and moves the hand of the clock. The final area of this clock is down here in this part here, which controls, there's a volume control knob here that controls how loud or how low the clock chimes, and also there are selections for what type of music it plays when it chimes. I'm not going to go into detail about those because those are preferences which can be decided upon after reading the directions. The main thing that I'm focusing on is getting the mechanical elements of the clock operational and working properly. Once this tabletop clock is fully assembled and operating as it should, this will be what it looks like. It will have the correct time, and it will chime each hour according to the preferences you set for it. Thank you for watching.